Warning, this video contains descriptions some viewers may find upsetting. Viewer discretion is advised. There is a house sitting on 2nd Street in Fall River, Massachusetts, and it does not sleep. It never has. Guests arrive curious, skeptical, or thrilled by the idea of a haunted house in one of New England's oldest mill cities. A large number of them leave believing in something they did not believe in before. Staff members who work there day after day have stopped being surprised by what happens after dark. Objects shift when no one is looking. Footsteps move through empty hallways. Voices respond when spoken to. And somewhere in the walls of that narrow Victorian home, something that was left behind in the summer of 1892 is still very much present. Say the name Lizzie Borden and people know it. The rhyme they learned as children has been repeated for over a century, some say, as a coping mechanism for what happened, arguably the most famous murder in New England history. And the home where those murders took place is arguably the most haunted house in New England. The Borden House was built in 1845, designed as a two-family dwelling on a respectable street in a prosperous city. Fall River in the second half of the 19th century was a booming textile hub. Andrew Jackson Borden was a banker and a landlord, known for his considerable wealth and his equally considerable reluctance to spend it. In 1872, he purchased the home on 2nd Street and converted it for single-family use. He moved in with his second wife, Abby, and his 2 daughters from his first marriage, Emma and Lizzie. Despite his fortune, Andrew refused to install indoor plumbing or move to the more fashionable neighborhoods on the hill. The house remained modest. The tension inside it did not. On the morning of August 4, 1892, Andrew and Abby Borden were killed inside the home. Andrew was found on the sitting room couch, struck multiple times with a hatchet while he slept. Abby was found upstairs in the guest room, having suffered 19 blows before she fell. Suspicion immediately fell on Lizzie, the younger daughter, who was the only family member present. She was arrested, tried, and acquitted on June 20, 1893, after a 26-day trial. The murders were never solved. Lizzie lived the rest of her life in Fall River, moving to a grander home she named Maplecroft. She died there in 1927. The house on 2nd Street passed through several hands over the following decades. In 1968, a woman named Martha Maginn moved into the property, which was owned by her grandparents at the time. Martha inherited it in 1996 and oversaw its transformation into what it is today, the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast Museum. The home was meticulously restored to match its 1892 layout and furnishings. Guests can sleep in the same rooms where the murders occurred. They can eat breakfast in the dining room. They can walk the same floors Lizzie walked the morning of the killings. The dining room table where guests enjoy that breakfast is the same table on which the autopsies of Andrew and Abby Borden were performed. And very often, according to both staff and visitors, guests encounter something they cannot explain. Over 30 years of compiled guest testimonials, the bed and breakfast has documented a staggering volume of reported paranormal activity. More than 200 accounts of poltergeist activity have been logged, almost as many incidents of disembodied voices heard by guests with no known source. Nearly 100 reports of physical apparitions are among the documented written statements from visitors across 3 decades, cataloged by the property itself. Objects move on their own, doors swing shut with no one near them, personal belongings get shifted from where guests left them. Staff have walked into rooms to find furniture slightly rearranged. Visitors have watched doors open without a hand touching them. One frequently cited incident involves a closet door on the 1st floor unlatching and slowly swinging open on its own, captured on camera during a 2022 visit, immediately after the lights were cut. The 2 guests present described being completely stunned. The sitting room, where Andrew Borden was killed, is one of the most active areas in the house. Guests report a persistent heaviness in the room. Some describe feeling a sudden, inexplicable sense of dread the moment they step through the doorway. Others report physical sensations, including the feeling of a hand pressing down on their shoulder when no one is standing behind them. Sudden surges of emotion, sadness or anger or unease hit visitors without apparent cause. Paranormal researchers note that these emotional intrusions are consistent with what some call an empathic imprint, where residual energy from a traumatic event is absorbed into the environment and then released onto those who pass through. A shadowy male figure has been seen multiple times in the parlor, slumped in the same position Andrew was found in on that August morning. He does not move. He does not turn to look at you. He is simply there and then he is not. Andrew's presence has also been detected in the cellar. Investigators conducting EVP sessions in the basement have captured a male voice stating the name Andrew and separately the phrase "help me." In another session, when investigators asked what the murder weapon was, the response captured on recording was just the word hatchet. Whether Andrew's energy is confined to the downstairs or whether it moves through the house is a matter of debate. Tour guides have reported hearing heavy boot steps in the master bedroom and in the upstairs hallway. Those footsteps, according to multiple accounts, passed directly through closed doors. The guest room where Abby Borden died is now known as the John V. Morse Suite, named for Lizzie's uncle. He stayed in the room the night before the murders. Abby's presence in this room has been described in deeply specific terms by those who have encountered it. Guests report cold spots that appear suddenly, even on warm days, with temperature drops measured at 15 to 20 degrees in seconds. The weeping of a woman has been heard in this room on multiple occasions. One of the most striking pieces of evidence connected to Abby came shortly after the home's renovations were complete. A staff member entering the John Morse Suite discovered an indentation on the freshly made bed, as though someone had been lying on top of it. The room had not been occupied. No one had been in it. The indentation was the size and shape of a person. An older woman with gray hair has been seen moving through the house, particularly in areas connected to daily domestic routines. She appears unhurried, focused on tasks that no longer exist. Paranormal researchers have speculated this could be Abby, now able to move freely through a home where she reportedly felt unwelcome during her life. Abby's relationship with her stepdaughters, particularly Lizzie, was notoriously strained. In life, Abby was a woman who kept to herself in a house that was not warm to her. In death, she may have found something closer to freedom. The Lizzie and Emma Suite is consistently reported as the most active space in the entire house. Guests staying in this room have described a wide range of experiences. Some report being unable to sleep because of sounds in the room with no visible source. Others have described feeling watched from the corner near the window. A wispy apparition has been observed hovering above the bed in this room, described by one guest as a figure that appeared and held its position before simply dissolving. The physical sensation reported most disturbingly by multiple guests in this suite is a choking feeling while lying in the bed. Whether the entity responsible is Lizzie herself is impossible to confirm. But investigators note that the energy in this room feels different from the rest of the house, more aware, more focused. Some investigators believe that Lizzie herself does visit the house, but that she does not stay. The majority of activity connected to her energy appears to concentrate in the basement, where she is said to have disposed of evidence after the killings. An apparition that matches her physical description has been seen in the cellar, moving through the space in a way that observers describe as searching, like someone making sure nothing was left behind. The basement of the Lizzie Borden house is, by many accounts, the most menacing section of the property. UV light investigations have revealed what appear to be bloodstains on the basement ceiling, a chilling artifact that investigators have documented, but that remains unexplained within the layout of the home. Staff and tour guides have reported physical encounters in the basement that go beyond cold spots and unexplained sounds. Multiple people have described being choked or feeling a sudden shove with no physical presence around them. The nature of whatever occupies the basement is broadly agreed upon to be unfriendly. It does not match the tentative, sometimes curious energy of the spirits documented upstairs. It is aggressive, territorial, and it appears to become more active after midnight, which is why the basement overnight ghost hunt offered by the property has developed a reputation as the most intense experience available there. The third floor and attic of the house produce a phenomenon that initially seems out of place. The laughter of children, footsteps running through the hallway, the sound of small feet moving quickly, stopping, then starting again. More than one guest has noted these sounds without knowing what to make of them, given that no children lived in the house when the murders occurred, and no children have ever been reported as victims inside the home itself. However, in 1848, 44 years before Andrew and Abby Borden were killed, a woman named Eliza Darling Borden committed the horrifying act of drowning 2 of her 3 children during some kind of psychotic break. The incident actually resurfaced during Lizzie Borden's 1893 trial, when her defense considered raising it as evidence of a family history of mental illness. It was ultimately noted that Eliza Darling was only a Borden by marriage and not a blood relation, which made the argument less useful to the defense. But the connection between has never been forgotten. Paranormal investigators who visit the Lizzie Borden house today frequently attempt to make contact with the children. The prevailing theory is that the spirits of the drowned children were drawn to the house. The children's laughter heard by investigators is described as genuine, playful, not threatening. Guests encountering them describe them as curious rather than malevolent. The voices captured at the Lizzie Borden House are among the most compelling evidence available to investigators. Electronic voice phenomena recorded over the years include words and phrases that go beyond random noise. EVP sessions have captured the words Justice, Lizzie, and Borden. When investigators have asked the spirits to name the murder weapon, a voice has come back saying hatchet. One of the most frequently repeated auditory experiences at the house involves guests who attempt to address the spirits directly. Multiple visitors have reported that when they speak to whatever occupies the rooms, the response that comes back is a single word, Lisbeth. It is a name Lizzie Borden used to identify herself in her adult years. In official records, social correspondence, and among friends, she went by Lisbeth rather than Lizzie. The response has come back to guests who were unaware of that distinction. This phenomenon extended to an investigation conducted at Maplecroft, the mansion where Lizzie lived after her acquittal and where she died in 1927. Lizzie purchased Maplecroft in 1893, shortly after her trial ended and she received her inheritance. During one documented investigation at Maplecroft, investigators asked the spirit present to reveal her name. The response, Lisbeth, when they asked whether she was connected to the murder house on 2nd Street, the voice that came back said, "Don't say anything, it's not me." Paranormal television shows have found the Lizzie Borden house to be consistently productive ground. Evidence gathered during those visits has added to the ongoing record. The house has been described by investigators who work professionally in this field as unusually active compared to other documented locations. The energy does not appear to diminish with repeated investigation. If anything, accounts from returning visitors suggest that the spirits recognize familiar faces and become more communicative over time, which points toward what paranormal researchers classify as an intelligent haunting rather than a residual one. A residual haunting is the term used for phenomena where energy from a traumatic event replays itself like a recording, the image of a figure walking a hallway, sounds that repeat at the same time each night. Impressions left in the environment that do not interact or respond. But then there are the EVP responses such as hatchet, Lisbeth, and help me. An entity capable of responding with contextual, specific information is not a recording. Paranormal researchers who classify hauntings on a spectrum from residual to intelligent consistently place the Borden house near the intelligent end. For a place this deeply embedded in American crime history, it is striking how much of the paranormal record is not dark. The children upstairs sound like children playing. The older woman with gray hair seen moving through the rooms looks, by all accounts, at peace. Andrew Borden's ghost is described as purposeful, even stoic, going about a routine. The horror of 1892 did not necessarily define the energy left behind. In some rooms, what lingers feels less like suffering and more like people who simply have not left. The murders on 2nd Street were never solved. The house is still standing, and whatever is inside it has had over 130 years to make itself at home. Subscribe to Paranormal Depths for the strangest and most compelling cases from around the world.